Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another Tuesday Cruiser Chat with Otram. Same as usual, no plan or anything for chat today. Just whatever you guys have question-wise, I'm here to try to answer them. Trying to think what's new at the shop. And nothing really new or exciting. Working on getting the new half situated, kind of starting to use it, but it's not really up to its full potential yet. And just some regular jobs, run-of-the-mill cruiser repairs coming through. Nothing exciting at the moment. What's going on, Dave? You're like the first person in here today. But yeah, nothing super exciting going on. Just regular in and out. We've got a couple engines out doing head gaskets and time and cover leaks, stuff like that. Just rebuilt a 40 transfer case today. Plugging along on the 3FE swap in the other 40. Nothing real exciting. June, how goes it? Why do people put Corvette and Chevy motor mounts in the 80 series and not the Toyota V8? I have no idea. I've never seen that. Oh, why do people put? I read that totally wrong. I read that as motor mounts. Chevy and Corvette motors in the 80 and not the Toyota V8. The Toyota V8 has been done. It's just not as, I guess, easy of a swap. Because advanced adapters in them have been around so long, they've got all the adapters lined out to put the Chevy motors in there. And it's kind of plug and play at this point. The Toyota V8, as far as I know, nobody's doing a kit or anything, so you got to do all the wiring. It's more fabrication. So yeah, it's not as common because it's, I guess, more work on the technical side. And Huff, how's it going? I need to get back down to Costa Rica. I need some Pura Vida. And to chemo, we use the factory Toyota head gaskets like 99% of the time. I've used the Cometic ones a couple of times, but that was when I was trying to correct for like machining issues. Like 99% of the time, we just use the stock Toyota ones. And to Brian, we have not rebuilt a 1FZ yet. I've had one completely stripped apart because the deck had to be machined on the block. So we had to take everything apart and then put everything back together. But the guy didn't go for a rebuild on that. Normally, I write them as using a new factory short block from Toyota, because at least around here, like, we've got an excellent guy for doing cylinder heads. Like, he does amazing head work. But nobody really does the block work anymore. Like, one guy does the cylinder boring, one guy does the line boring, another guy does the crank turning. And I've had issues in the past with other motors with like tolerance stack up. And I just don't think they're going to do it to the same specs as Toyota does. And for the price, you can still get a new Toyota short block. It just makes sense to do it that way. So that's the way we normally write them. But we haven't actually done one yet. To Dave, yeah, a whole wrecked, or even more common, we rotted out 100 series or early Tundra. Would be nice. You're still going to have to do a lot of wiring to get everything to play happy. And like the newer Toyota stuff, like the immobilizer and the keyless entry and all that stuff's built into the ECU. As far as I know. And so you're going to have to work around that. I've toyed with the idea of looking for a wrecked 100 series and popping the drivetrain into the Shady 80. But that would be a long time down the road. Um, and Lee asked, his starter doesn't always engage fully the first time. So is it just like doing click, 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 and not turning over? Or does it kind of turn over? Because if it's just going click, 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 that's usually the starter contacts going out. And you can change just the contacts and not have to get, a newer rebuilt starter. And they're pretty easy to change. I've got there's a video on here for changing the contacts, but doesn't turn and no click. No click sounds more like it would be like maybe there's an aftermarket alarm system or something in there. Oh, but you can hear the starter spinning. If you can hear the starter spinning, but it's not turning the motor over, then it sounds like something's broken either in the starter or you've broken teeth off the flywheel, but probably the starter. And John says he just finished changing coolant lines, and after changing, started leaking an ungodly amount from the AC to the radiator. I'm not quite following you. Like you've got a coolant leak that's in between the radiator and the AC condenser. Yeah, I'm not quite following where you're losing coolant from. And to Lee, it could be either the starter isn't flinging the drive gear forward far enough, so it's not engaging on the flex plate, or it could be that you've got teeth stripped off the flex plate, and when you first fling it out, nothing's meshing, but it's kind of moving a little bit, and then the second time you do it, you're catching teeth, and it starts. I've got broken teeth on the flywheel in my 4Runner, and you'll go to start it and you'll hear it go zing, but nothing happens. And if you kind of jump up and down a little bit, it'll rock the flywheel over far enough to engage, and then it'll start. I haven't seen an 80 with broken teeth on the flex plate yet, though, so I would guess you're more in starter territory. So, to John, are you losing AC refrigerant or are you losing coolant? And what kind of truck? To John, if you're leaking right under the radiator overflow container, I would guess it's your radiator overflow leaking, either that or the hose going over to it. Trying to think, I guess you could have a crack in the radiator spewing over that direction. But it's hard to tell. I mean, without seeing it or seeing a picture, it's hard to tell, over the description what's leaking. And to June, it's real easy to save my marriage when all I want to do is spend time on my 80 series. I just don't. I keep having every intention of going down to the shop and working on the 80 on the weekends, and we've just had so much stuff going on at the house that I haven't had a chance. And we're going down to the beach this weekend, and then I'm away next weekend. But my wife is working on her PhD, and she's in Boston for the entire month of July, which means for July, I can basically live at the shop and work on the 80 as much as I want, assuming I can actually afford the parts that the 80 needs by then. Yeah, it's rough. Like before I got married, I had lots of project vehicles, and that's all I did was lived at the shop and and worked on my junk. Uh, Now I'm married, and I don't really have the time to work on my projects, but life is much more fulfilled. So I'm willing to make that trade-off. And if I really wanted to, I could go down and work on the truck. She wouldn't care. Um, we'd just push house projects off. I can see how worked on my junk could be a double entendre. Scratch that. Um, so Dave says he's probably going to do breaks next month at Tech Day. If there is one, can we lay out a list of stuff? Well, I mean, it all depends on what they need. Like, I'm not one for going and just whole hog replacing everything. Like, we'll usually do pads and rotors if you've got a sticky caliper or a leaky caliper or something like that. We'll do calipers. If the lines aren't great looking, we'll do the lines. But most of the time they just need pads and rotors. And when doing rear brake pads on an 80, do I use the small metallic wear indicators? I do if they come with the hardware kit that I've got. If they don't come in the hardware kit that I've got, I usually don't because I never remember to order them. And nobody ever seems to pay attention to them when they whistle anyway. So yeah, if I've got them on hand, I use them. If I don't have them on hand, not super concerned about it. And to Dave, yeah, if your brakes are feeling pretty squishy, like the stainless braided lines will help quite a bit. Because they're going on 30-year-old lines now. 20, I can't do math. 20-year-old lines now. So they've probably got some swell to them. So like change it over to stainless lines, or even factory rubber lines would be good. I haven't been a huge fan of the Terrain Tamer rotors. Everything else they make's amazing, but I haven't been a fan of their rotors. I haven't personally used Stop Tech yet. My brother used them on the back of his truck, and he likes them, but he hasn't driven it a ton. We've done EBC rotors and green stuff pads on a couple of trucks, and I've got them on my Subaru, and I've been really happy with them. And back up to Brendan, looking at buying a 9380 series petrol. By using petrol, I'm assuming you're in a different country than the US. So I'm not sure what the non-US market differences were. Here, the 9394s are getting harder to get some of the parts for, and they're not quite as easy. They're not quite as easy to diagnose stuff on because it hasn't gone to OBD2 yet. Like I like in the US spec stuff, the 95 to 97 is what I usually use, or what I usually prefer working on, because they're easier and easier to get parts for. And to Lee, for starter rebuild kits, we don't do like the motors and the drives in-house. I only do the contacts, and I get those just from Toyota, or you can find them on Amazon. For a whole starter, if your drive's not flinging out right, I'd just look for like a Denso reman starter, and that'll set you up. And to Dave, the stainless lines, I know Metal Tech has them because I just ordered a set from them for my truck. Slee's got them. I think Iron Pig's got them. At least they used to. Pretty much all the main suppliers have stainless line sets. And yes, the EBC makes like a stock style replacement rotor with no drilling or anything. That's what I'm running on the Subaru. And that's what I guess I put on a couple of trucks. I'm a super big fan of the shop manuals. 350 is steep. But that's what I've paid. That's what I paid for my original 4Runner manual. I subscribe to Toyota information online, and I think for basic information, it's like 5 something a year. But you can do it like in daily chunks for, I think it's like $60 for 2 days. So you can do it that way, and that gets you all of Toyota's info. You can also find bootlegged versions, like PDF copies of the shop manuals online, if you look around. But yeah, I really like the factory manuals. I'm going brain dead. And I like having the paper ones because, like a lot of the online stuff for Toyota only goes back to like 1990. So I still have to have the paper manuals for like the 60, the 62, the 40, and all that jazz. But yeah, the factory service manuals, like the older ones, seem to be a lot more complete. The newer ones, I guess they assume that you know more of the intermediate steps, so there's more like jumping around. So yeah, they're harder to read through. And do I happen to know what volumes they had for 97 LX450? I'm pretty sure it's one main manual that does like the engine, the drivetrain, everything, and then there may have been an electrical supplement, like the late 80s ones. The electrical was all in the back, but I feel like by the time they got to the 80, there was a second manual for electrical. But I'm not positive because I've never actually had an 80 series like paper manual in my hands. Actually, I can just look in information and see what manuals or what categories it lists in here. Yeah, like some of the old stuff had like a weird, like they had the emissions manual was separate, the service tool manual was separate. Oh, my wife changed things around in my office and the glare is killing me. Yeah, it looks like main manual and electrical wiring. That's assuming they follow the same format as what the online categories on here do. Oh, I'm sending Dave so much spam email now. Awesome. Yeah, the crank tool, we've sold a lot more of them than I ever expected to. Um, I posted them up on Mud and got no response, and just had a small batch cut. Those sold out, and we just keep selling out of all the batches I have made. I had to order another batch Monday. It's just crazy. I never thought those would sell. And to Dave, yeah, the plan is to get a tire machine and a balancer for the new side of the shop now that we've got the space. Um, yeah, looking at tire machine, balancer, and I need to get 2 more lifts. So it's going to be a super expensive couple of months outfitting the other side of the shop. Um, I I've had really good luck with Old Man Emu suspensions. June's asking recommendations for standard suspension kits. Old Man Emu, I'm going brain dead. The Slinky stuff is really, really nice. We've done a couple of Tough Dog kits. Those seem nice. I haven't done a full Icon kit yet, but I assume the Icon would be fairly similar to Slinky. And so obviously, or probably pretty nice. I've done Icon's 100 and 200 series kits, and they were super nice. And yeah, sometimes you've got to do spacers, to try to get everything um, leveled out and even. Most of the time, it's pretty close, but sometimes, especially like guys with rear tire carriers and stuff like that, it'll take a spacer to get it right because the suspension guys can't account for everything. Sorry, everybody's like texting me this evening. And in a couple of minutes, the dogs are probably going to go crazy. My parents are coming over on their way out of town, and the dogs go nuts anytime anybody comes over. And actually, I'm going to go unlock the front door real quick so that the dogs don't go nuts as long. We just got back from Portugal a couple of weeks ago, and now my parents are going to Portugal. Other than sunroof, what could cause rear cargo area dampness? I've seen the slider windows in the back. The the window run weather stripping will split and shrink, and you'll get water coming in there when it rains. Um, and if it's, or it could be the giant rusted hole. Uh, but yeah, I've seen the rear window sliders rust out, or not rust out. The rubbers shrink and rot out, and yeah, water gets in that way. Any suggestions on reducing interior rattling, backseat, back hatch rattle on 97 Land Cruiser? I haven't messed with the back seat rattling, and there's likely not a ton you can do with that. The rear hatch, you can adjust the bumpers, like where when you close it, there's two rubber nubs that you can adjust to tighten up the rear hatch. So that might help. And to Art's Machine, thanks for the thanks. Yeah, we do the front oil seals a ton, and it's still not a job I like doing. Yeah, and to Dave, I saw Patrick's pictures on mud, and those frames looked terrible. And to Brian, my head gasket video showed replacing with an MLS gasket. The main reason we went with an MLS gasket on that one was because his head was like really warped, and the machinist was going to have to cut it further than the minimum to get all the warp out of it. So we went with an MLS because with the MLS gasket, you could get them thicker than stock. So I could order a gasket to make up for the material that had to be removed from the head to keep the timing chain center lines the same length. We normally go factory because it's a lot more serviceable gasket. With the MLS, the block surface and the head surface have to be almost mirror smooth. They can't have any scratches, divots, low spots, because the metal gasket won't seal to it. Where the factory, I don't know what it is, composite gasket will fill in, any minor, pitting and surface imperfections. So it's a lot more foolproof to use the factory gasket. And, for most of what I've seen, once the head gasket's been done, they don't blow again. Guys, go in the living room. Sorry, I got dogs fighting behind me. So, and to Jeremy's question, yeah, you can change your compression using the thicker gasket, but because of the material that was cut off the head made the combustion chambers smaller, it theoretically balances out using the thicker gasket. Yeah, they will sit here and ignore me all day and until I get on chat or until I'm trying to edit videos, and then they want to come and wrestle and play behind me. And my folks just got here, so I'm going to run out front and meet them real quick. I will be right back. You're fine. You're fine. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. You guys didn't talk amongst yourselves while I was gone. To John, yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the dial indicator. I've got a couple. The one that's in most of my videos is a central, and I don't really like it, but it's just one I've had forever, so I'm used to it. I just got a Midatoyo a while ago, and I really like the Midatoyo, but it has not made it into any videos yet. And the magnetic base is a Noga arm base that I really, really like. They're expensive, but they're well worth it. I actually just finished filming the removal of the timing chain, and I'm shooting the installation of the timing chain tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll get time this weekend to actually edit those into videos and get them posted. So yeah, timing chain video is in the works. Although I can't imagine one being loose enough that you would hear it or feel it. Yeah, I would guess more that you're feeling like a drive shaft slip joint or something like that than the timing chains. I mean, it's possible. But yeah, I haven't seen that, and we see a ton of cruisers. And to Enrique, with the door locks, they lock and unlock the first time. I would guess your actuators are getting weak. So the first time you use them, they do it okay. But then the second time around, the solenoids kind of it's slow. That would be my guess, but I haven't diagnosed them yet on 100. So it's just a guess. What's up, Robert? Yeah, you haven't been here in a while. Of course, I've been skipping them too. And to Brian, yeah, you've got to drop both oil pans to get the timing chain out, to get the cover off. And technically, you should take the head off too, because of the way the gasket sits in there. It is not a fun job doing timing chain on an 80 in the truck. I did it in the truck once, and it was terrible. So the one I'm doing right now, we pulled the engine, and I'm doing it on the stand. That way, you can get everything clean, because like the timing cover glues on, the oil pans glue on, and you want to make sure everything is absolutely spotlessly clean before you put that sealer on. Otherwise, you're asking for trouble with getting leaks again. Everybody needs a supercharger. A supercharger or a turbocharger. I have yet to see a bad timing chain in a 1FC. And we've had them apart for head gaskets at close to 300,000 miles. And the chains, everything still lined up and looked good. I've seen the guides break on them, but I haven't actually seen the chains go bad. But we've done the chains, when you go and do the guides, because you got to take everything out anyway. And to Robert, There, as far as I know, is no source for new superchargers. The only way to find them is to find somebody selling one and hope you get all the pieces. An easier bet would probably be the Wits End Turbo Kit, that's theoretically almost ready to go. So if it were me, I would hold out for Joey's Turbo Kit, because that is going to be super awesome. But every now and then, the used superchargers do come up. Um, I don't know. Following him, I've been following him on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, it's 6K, so it's not cheap. But the used supercharger kits have been going for stupid money too, and you're buying a used supercharger. Um, I would guess in the next couple of months, but he hasn't actually said a definitive timeline. And hey, to West Virginia, you're just one letter away from me. I'm in Virginia. I don't know of any superchargers that cross over. Um, there used to be like a bullet supercharger, and there was something else, but I think everything's gone off the market now. Um, so yeah, as far as I know, there aren't any new options. And to Dave, yeah, I think he does have to do all the new SEMA stuff, but it didn't seem like he was too far out on that. So I don't know. Um, Researching Land Cruiser and LX470, is the ride height control a concern for failing over time? It is super often that the ride height control fails. At least here, and we're just on the border of rust, but we keep seeing nothing but rotten auto height control lines, and everything under there is so rusty that we just cut it out and put like a standard suspension in them, because it's not worth the money to go through and fix the AHC stuff. We probably got 3 or 4 of them, maybe more a month. So they go quite often. And to Leonard, glad the timing belt videos helped. And to Robert, I have no idea. BMW diagnostics is a whole different ballpark. Yeah. I've done it in the past, but it has been forever since I've messed with anything BMW. That's not even a standardized code. So that's got to be a BMW specific code, because normally, like if it was an SAE, it'd be like, P0 blah blah blah, for drivetrain, or C something. To less, do not use any kind of head gasket sealer crap. Um, all it's gonna do is clog up things you don't want clogged up in your engine. My daily driver Subaru, I paid $200 for it because it had blown head gaskets. When I pulled the heads off, I had to use a pick to chip out all the head gasket sealer that was just packed up and gooed in the block. Um, it's a horrible, horrible solution that rarely actually works as a solution. Yeah, the gasket, or the head gasket sealers in a bottle, just tend to make more problems than they're worth. Yeah, we just drain and fill the trans. There is technically a filter in there, but I'm pretty sure it's more of like a screen. So we don't normally go in there to replace them. We just, we do the drain and fill. If it's exhibiting some issue that makes us think that there's a fluid flow problem, I'd go in and look at the filter, but I've never run across needing to. So yeah, most of the time we just do the drain and fill, unless somebody specifically says, hey, can you go in and change the filter? Yeah, to Jeremy, understanding the German technical manuals is fun. It's like they just had a completely opposite mindset towards designing things and writing manuals than the Japanese did. Um, it is it's crazy. Oh, and I missed Huff's which AT fluid. I'm pretty sure a 94 is Dex 3. I want to say somewhere around there were some that took Toyota Type T, but I'm pretty sure a 94 is Dex 3. In the back of your owner's manual, it should list the fluid specs, but I'm almost positive that's Dex 3. But I always end up having to look them up each time just to be sure. I have no idea on rims and offset and all that jazz. We don't do tires and wheels in house, so usually we do the lifts and lifts or whatever suspension work, and then the customers take it to like a tire shop to get tires and wheels done, or they just order them in from Tire Rack or somebody like that and have them delivered to us. So I never pay attention to tire and wheel size on anything. You got to be careful with sticking them out too far, because you'll start eating knuckle and wheel bearings. But yeah, I'm sure on mud there's got to be, up in the stickies in each forum, wheel and tire size listings, but I just never really pay attention to it. I'm still stuck in the 90s with SAE tire sizing. Like I can't even think in the metric tire sizes. About to do all my seals. Would you upgrade to the blue fan while you're in there? Um, it couldn't hurt. To upgrade to a stronger fan. Here in Virginia, it doesn't get super hot, so we don't see a lot of fan clutch issues. But I know like the guys out west run into it more. Um, we normally just use the ASIN stock replacement because it seems to work fine here. But upgrading on the cooling system I can't really see it hurting anything. And you're gonna have it off anyway. I don't think race and cruiser should go in the same sentence. I haven't been in very many speedy cruisers, although I did get to drive a supercharged 200 series. Uh, Nothing that big and heavy should move that quickly. I was really impressed with the supercharged 200. Yeah, we'll get the random 80 series through the shop that like we'll pull out onto the highway to go for a test drive, and it'd be like, "Oh wow, this one actually goes." But most of them are just so slow, and we haven't figured out the rhyme or reason to what makes the fast ones faster. I don't think that's the way physics works, but maybe it puts them in the optimal gear ratio. Um, Kings are supposed to be super, super nice and super worth the money. Um, I've got a couple of customers with them, but I have yet to drive them long distance. We took one of them, just test driving. We were trying to diagnose, but it's something that took a lot of highway driving, and they felt really nice. But I haven't wheeled on a set to know that end. And to Dave, we've actually got a guy that wants us to put higher gears in to lower his engine RPM for highway driving so he can go faster. So yeah, I guess some people do. He wants us to drop it down to 373s, or I guess switch it up to 373s so he can lower the top end speed or lower the RPMs at top end speed. That seems like a whole lot of work for not much gain. But yeah, people have money. And I need a Christmas donkey. I'm not even sure what that is, but I need a Christmas donkey um, to get me shocks too. And yeah, I tried to explain that to him that he did not want to go that way. That he was going to lose all the low end. But that's what he wants to do. So we'll see. And top speed is like the terminal velocity after you drive it off a cliff. Fuel cell on an 80 series sounds like a ton of work. Yeah, fuel cell on an 80 series is going to be a ton of work and it's going to bring a ton of suck. Um, I've got one in my Forerunner and I hate it. Uh, yeah, I mean they're doable, but it's a lot of work. It's funny, like we do a lot of, like lifted big tire trucks, but the vast majority of the work we do is just like maintenance and repair on relatively stock cruisers. Um, we only do, a couple of lifts a month. Uh, yeah, we don't do near as much as the big, off-roading. We do gears and lockers and lifts, but we don't do it nearly as often as we're doing just regular maintenance and repair. Tons and tons of timing belts. Yeah, stock is what keeps the doors open. Um, yeah, I mean we do builds, but the vast majority of the work coming through, it's stock trucks. Stock are just really mildly built. I do need to do like a belts and hoses and regular maintenance type of video. I just never think to do it because like we're always doing something else while we're doing that. And before I got married, I spent all my money on project vehicles and had a very crappy apartment. So yeah, I feel your pain. Now my money goes all into the house because we bought an old house that always needs remodeling. Oh yeah, I do spend an inordinate amount of money on tools. The accountant this afternoon sent over all my expenses from I guess this year to date, and I had to go through and sort it by what it all was. and there was way too much money in tools there. Yeah, I guess we bought this house maybe 6 years ago, and we've been slowly going through it and redoing everything. We're down to having just the original bathroom left to do, so I'll probably do that this fall. Yeah, me buying lots and lots of tools does help keep the doors open. There was a race team that was renting the other half of our building, and it was nice because they had a ton of specialty tools too. Uh, so whenever I needed something, I would just go raid their toolboxes. But now with them moving out, I'm having to buy all the specialty stuff that we used to borrow from them, and it hurts. Oh, and don't say that. I don't want to start over and do more rooms. But yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, I'm done renovating. It's not the only part I really hate is drywall. Everything else I'm fine with. I hate doing drywall. We did the kitchen 2 years ago, um, 2 or 3 years ago, and like completely gutted everything, down to the studs, and redid it. And it has so far been super awesome, and there is no intention of changing it. So luckily, no more kitchen, or no plans to do the kitchen. Kitchen is done, and I built a super awesome master bathroom like 3 years ago. I took the smallest bedroom and turned it into the master bathroom with huge walk-in shower with the rain shower and the jets and heated floors and all that jazz. So hopefully I don't have to redo that anytime soon either. Uh, but yeah, if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna jump off of here for the evening, get the dogs fed, and start cooking dinner for me because my wife's working late. Uh, so yeah, I'm gonna jump off of here and start up dinner. But thanks for everybody that tuned in. If you haven't, subscribe below. And if you dig the videos, check out our Patreon link down in the description. We always appreciate any support. And I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks again for tuning in.